Hello, I haven't filmed for a while, and we have my beautiful daughter here, Melody. And yeah, we just want to say that this last couple of years has been terrible for everybody. Everybody's got stories to tell. Uh, there's been many people we understand that have lost people in dear to them. Um, but as you know, our favourite hobby, pastime, is going to the movies, watching movies. Yes, and actually, this year so far, we've seen probably mostly films that I was going to see last year, so I'm happy. Um, when we came out of lockdown last year, the things on offer weren't brilliant, but I understand that they were trying to keep them for a better time. There's maybe just one or two films I still want to see. So I'm really pleased. Apart from Wonder Woman 1984, I really missed out on that because the area that we live was in a
Fake
lockdown.
lockdown.
Well, yeah,
It was a fake lockdown.
it,
Schools were closed.
we were in tears and we were in the wrong theatre and the movie theatres were closed and we weren't. But we were advised not to travel out of our area, so I missed Wonder Woman 1984. But all of them, looking back on it, and it's something I've never really thought about before, all of them deal with grief, death and grief. In every film that we see, there's death. At least one person dies, and some films get shootout movies where you get 100 people die. Now, some of those you don't deal with grief, but in a lot of films also you deal with grief. And also some of the things we've noticed that a lot of superheroes have either had one or two parents die. So,
I'm a superhero, yay!
So a lot of them are orphans, and also thing we noticed that a lot of villains acting out on grief as well. So this is not advisable. I wouldn't advise anything about this. But what are the 5 stages of grief now? One thing.
Anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Probably got that in the wrong order, but
I lost count of.
yeah, and then there's one more. Revenge.
So this is it. Revenge is all in the movies now. It's not even about justice; it's about revenge. So there is a difference between justice and revenge, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that, or you can comment in the section. But yeah, all those things. So in the chats we can talk about most of the films we've seen and list out all the films we've seen. But what's your favourites and what do you think you really want to talk about?
So I have a list, but specifically if we're focusing on the themes of grief and have to ignore the superheroes, because that's like literally a whole topic for another day. I'd have to say A Quiet Place 2, Raya and the Last Dragon, Cruella, Space Jam a bit. I'd have to also mention The Suicide Squad. I'd also want to mention Old, Spirit Untamed, Snake Eyes, Candyman, and No Time to Die.
So this might be a long video then.
Well, we can nail it down, but those are like my top favourites for discussing grief, because ignoring the Marvel movies, because that's something Marvel movies seem to want to be becoming a tackle these days.
Yeah, all superheroes are awesome, so.
I'm a superhero!
Yeah, you said that before.
I'm still not alive.
Yeah, I'm still here, thank you very much. Thank you. But, yeah, so. But another thing I found this year, I watched a couple of very well made depressing films, and although I do agree that you have to, in a movie, in my view, you have to have all emotions in a movie. So you have to have a bit of comedy, you have to have a bit of sadness. Some of the films that I saw were so depressing, even though the actors were brilliant, I just came out of the movie theatre thinking, oh, give me some joy, please. And those two films that I saw that were depressing were, I suppose, old, really. But that's the one you saw, but the films that I saw without Melody was The Father. I don't think I even put it on there. The Father and Supernova. Yeah, so although I love the actors in it, and I do, I do appreciate what they were doing, they just I just want a bit of.
You just need to not bury your gay trope.
I just want, I just want a bit of escapism as well.
Yeah, because I understand seeing like the bury your gay trope, like the 50s kind with it.
There weren't
Too miserable,
there
but
weren't burials in them.
they would still died.
The one of them, yeah, there's sometimes death off screen as well, or talking about death off screen, so it was still very sad.
Yeah.
So, but there were brilliant films. I still fit into the trope though.
But yeah.
So go on, you do your bit, and we'll
Okay. I really am sort of depressed. For example, Raya and the Last Dragon, because as you all know, I've lost a dad. So I don't think, I think that the fact that some of these protagonists now have a lost dad as well isn't helping. And I especially thought with Raya as well, because I just related. She just became hopeless after she saw her dad die in front of her. It wasn't die, she just sort of like turned into stone where it went. But like, it was sort of kind of a very dramatic death where a 10-year-old, because she trusted somebody, kind of had to survive by herself, and her dad was, gone. I know she gets him back, but spoilers.
Yeah.
But it's just really sad, and especially I felt like this movie was trying to call me out and say, start trusting people. Never gonna happen. I'm never gonna trust people again after high school, but it does prove a bit of points about trust and friendship, even if you're grieving. Oh, and moving on from Raya, A Quiet Place 2.
Oh, I couldn't wait to see it. I mean, I saw the first one in the cinema by myself because I couldn't get I couldn't get my offspring to watch it with me, and I have a video explain the funny circumstances of when I saw A Quiet Place, the original one, and that made them think, oh yes, we'll have to see A Quiet Place 2 in the cinema. And you and your brother managed to see it, and with me, and it was great. I think I can't decide which is best.
I like both of them.
I like both, and John Krasinski is an excellent director.
He really is. He needs to direct more stuff.
I think this was really well directed,
and I think surprisingly for a neurotypical able-bodied man, he did really good representation with the daughter, because we actually got to see, things from her perspective.
Yeah.
And I just,
I
really connected with that. And I think currently, he's the only man in Hollywood I trust with doing proper disabled representation.
But unfortunately, he might not be doing A Quiet Place 3 soon.
No! That's so bad, I don't trust anyone else!
But the thing I like about this, so you saw briefly, the child that died in the first film, you saw her connection with this child just briefly, and it was all so cute, and you could understand why she was so. Well, yeah, she lost her baby. She really was grieving over him, but I cannot understand why they decided to have another baby in those times, especially when a baby cries and the creatures, any noise would attack the baby. I just cannot understand.
I don't understand either. I just think they got a bit busy.
I can understand, not in normal circumstances, when a child dies, you not want to replace them, but you want another child. But in these circumstances, whether it was an accident or whether it was planned, but yeah, it was really extraordinary. I think extraordinary times, and there's so much in films as well that I want to that does relate to the pandemic. I see it that way. It might be my imagination.
Yeah, I know. I don't think like monsters that can kill you when you make sound is similar to pandemic.
But it's a worldwide elimination of people, which hopefully will not happen to us. But it's I see the similarities.
Yeah, you have a point about the worldwide extinction thing. Sorry, not sorry. But yeah, I just really enjoyed the themes of it. But my only bugger was the cliff. My only nitpick, bugbear. That's what I was trying to say. My only bugbear was the fact that the cliffhanger ended on a cliffhanger again.
Which makes way for Quiet Place 3, so we have to have that, and we want it.
We want John Krasinski back.
And we want the same cast back.
John Krasinski, I'm sorry. No one else can do good disabled representation of you. Please come back.
This, persuade John Krasinski.
Please, I'm begging you. That cliffhanger was aching. Like, both of the kids, they had overcome their grief and they were now stepping up to protect their family. Well, I know the edit guy wasn't, her family, but she was still trying to,
We're renting on.
I'm sorry, I loved it. Anyway, moving on. Yes, we've got to move on. Cruella. Oh my gosh. When I say I'm tired of Disney live action remakes, I am tired of them. But this one knocked me out of my seat, metaphorically. Because I just enjoyed it. And I know people say, oh, it ruins the story of original, Cruella's not a hero yet. That doesn't matter. Because I really hate this formula of just remaking Disney movies with
almost scene for scene.
Yeah, with a bit of a spin. That's why I do like the new Aladdin. That's one of my favorites. But I'm just getting tired of these remakes. They don't seem to be original. I discussed that on my radio show, BCB Radio. That's totally not free advertising. So yeah, I very much enjoyed this remake because it just didn't feel like a generic Disney cash grab. It generally felt empowering and very strong. And it even got the approval of the misogynists for some strange reason.
Can I just say that there's so many reboots now, and some of them didn't work. I didn't think, although I enjoyed it as a standalone film, Terminator, the last Terminator film, and the X-Men film, it was okay as a single film, but joining on everything else, it just didn't work. So those reboots didn't work. Halloween, in my mind, doesn't work. In Halloween franchise, you see everything from the character, the Jamie Lee Curtis character dying, having a son. Now she's got a daughter, and I don't know. I just think it needs to lay to rest. But this, I am so looking forward to a follow-up, part 2. So yes, it's going to be rebooted. So I'm not quite sure whether she's going to turn evil.
I think she might, because they did say they want to make her close to the Glenn Close version. And in my eye, if she does turn Glenn Close, you can't just make her anti-hero, because the thing is with Disney, I think the whole reason with this movie that they didn't make her the villain is because, like, we can't have kids who look up to her. We can't have our main character as the villain.
But Maleficent, she started off that way. She started off as a villain. Now she's brilliant.
Yeah, like with her, I think the original was just a masterpiece, and I love the spin on the tale that
But the reboots are masterpieces as well.
I just think it's very accurate to what probably happened, because I don't think it was just, you didn't invite me to your party, now I'm going to curse you. I think it would have to be something more drastic to, get that orientated.
But Emma Stone and Emma Thompson were absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Oscar nomination.
They really were. They both have like the perfect chemistry for this. And what I would like to see, I would also like to see an Emma Thompson version of Cruella de Vil, because people were saying, I think she's more closer to Cruella than Cruella was. But again, I don't get the criticism. I really, really enjoyed it, and I wouldn't mind the reboot. Anyway, moving on again. Spirit Untamed. I very liked it, and I think my favorite part of that was the representation where all different types of skin colors were allowed to be on screen together at the same time. Lighter skinned, darker skinned, people of colour were allowed to be on screen together.
Diversity, I think you're looking for.
Yeah, and then, diversity is the word. Because normally, you normally have, alright, only one person of colour can appear in a film. You can't share the screen. Like with In the Heights, for example, you can't share the screen if you're light and dark skinned. Like, there's only one dark skinned character. So I just really loved this a lot more.
I complained about In the Heights, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
I like the diversity in the Heights, but
I just don't think it's diverse enough.
Talking about the grief part, yes.
The grief part. Oh my god.
The opening, at the very beginning, may we say, we have death and grief, and so
she died on the. Oh, I'm surprised they had managed to keep it PG.
Like the girl's mother. Well, it didn't obviously, with it being a cartoon, you don't graphically see it, but it's such a sad beginning. But it sets up the whole rest of the film, and I thought
her dad, a grieving man who just pushes her daughter away for years, pushes his daughter away for years,
which happens a lot apparently in films.
Oh, yeah, like the parents just either become overprotective or push you away.
So yeah, but not in our case.
Luckily.
But yeah, the opening scene excellent. But we really loved it. I'm glad you really liked it, because 20 years ago, if it's that, roughly 20 years ago, the original Spirit with the excellent soundtrack of Bryan Adams, who I'm a big fan of. And I was confused at first. I thought, is this a remake? Is it going to be a follow-on? Although that can't have been, because it's a different timeline.
I think it's a sequel, but
so whether it was the same horse, it really confused me. But
we're not sure. But I think it was advertised as a sequel. But I thought it was a really good one, and it does kind of make me want to watch the original. But I might get some Indigenous friends thoughts on that, because
you need to see the original.
I might. I'm just but I really liked this one for the diversity and the funness, because although it had this message of grief, it eventually became hopeful, because the dad saw Lucky, ironically, Lucky can look after herself. She's called Lucky. Who thinks that kid Lucky? Lucky can look after herself. And
if you have called your child Lucky, I apologize.
I know, it's just so unique for me. But I really connected with the story, and it kind of made me want to cosplay. Lol. But I connected with the themes and how it became hopeful, because the dad realized, I can't push her away anymore. So yeah, I thought it was a really good film. What do you think?
Yeah.
So it's definitely one of my favorites. Absolutely.
Right, so another film that deals with a lot of death, but not so much grief, but in a funny way. The franchise Fast and Furious, which is that you saw the Fast and Furious 9, the first time you've seen it in the cinema, what did you think?
Um, Contrary to other critics, I loved it, and Mum was really surprised at that as well. I just really loved it because I saw Hobbs and Shaw. You are technically lying, but I'll give you it because it's my first mainline film. I really loved it, and I thought the crew excellent energy. Struggled to follow it a little bit. I had to whisper to Mum. But apart from that, I still very much enjoyed the energy. And I loved hearing Vin Diesel say anything else other than "I am Groot." So
The
that
one
was pretty
thing
new.
though that is strange about this, it is almost like a reboot because you get characters that you thought were dead that came back, and you got characters that you thought were bad guys turning out to be good guys. But the really strange thing with me, Paul Walker was in the original films early on, sadly died, and in this film, you have him alive but off camera, so they're still
That's
talking about it.
clever.
Oh, who's babysitting the kids? Oh, it's Brian. You know, and I'm thinking, this is really strange, and I've not seen this before because
Marvel.
obviously people are still grieving over Paul Walker, and it's really sad. They don't want to see him killed off, but they're still talking about him. So I just found that it's really unusual.
I think that gives me a bit of hope that maybe Marvel will see, okay, Chadwick Boseman, lovely, but maybe we can still keep him in the story. For example, my favorite thing, but they're not going to do this, which is really bugging me. The person who started the Recast T'Challa movement was like, why don't you just do Black Panther 2 during the blip? Black Panther died during the blip, so you don't have to include Chadwick Boseman. And he can still be alive in the MCU. It's grief though, it's grief, but I get what you mean.
It is sad grief, you know, about the actors who die as well. You know?
I know, I never knew Paul Walker, so I'm numb. Sorry, folks.
But yeah, so these films you can pick up, even though it's a bit confusing, you can pick up, but yeah, a lot of death. Fast and Furious films.
I really liked the plot points of it, and I did feel sympathy eventually for Dom's brother, but I also was so confused at the dad at first.
One thing I do not understand, the one thing, the bugbear that I get is I do not see John Cena as being Vin Diesel's brother in the film. Sorry, it just didn't relate to me. That's one thing. If you get cast in, you have to be in a film like this. You have to be look like.
Yeah, that's my eyes. Because when I do fan casts, for example, I think it's like you've got to cast people who look similar-ish.
Anyway, we're going on too long. All hail to Paul Walker.
All hail to Paul Walker. Oh. So,
and we have a magical change of clothes.
So, let's talk about because this, although the dialogue was really bad, and although it had certain stuff that I didn't like, I found the concept really creepy. Just needed a better dialect. It's just it was really a kind of physically and metaphorically just really disturbing. And spoilers, it's basically where they're on an island that slowly ages you.
Well, no, quickly.
Quickly ages you, yeah. So these kids who are about 11, 5, go on to be in their late 40s, 50s, early 50s. And then the parents die, and oh my goodness,
well,
they just
basically, all the people who were on the island with them died.
Yeah, because the kids were kids, so they were lucky.
They were lucky because they were young that they survived it. Everyone who I know that saw this was, oh yeah, it's not as good as what I thought it would be, but I really liked it. As I say,
Mm.
as Melody said, there's a few things that I didn't agree with, and maybe, yeah, the dialogue was a bit off, but I think the,
Concept was good. It
yeah,
just needed a better writer and director.
as
Again,
she
no.
said before, but she said a bit louder this time. Yeah, so there was a lot of death and grief in the film.
Like, it was
and
just
it all happened in
sad.
a day, and I thought it was
Yeah.
because somebody, other people arrived on the island before them, in the previous months and years before them, so it was all an experiment. So we get to realise their lives as well, that they were just wiped out because of this stupid experiment. And see these mad scientists again.
Yeah.
Some good, some are good, and some are bad.
But that was
And they sort of like said, yeah, well, we've possibly, saved this woman's life, yeah, but you sort of,
at expense of another.
yeah,
Because it's basically realised they found a cure for epilepsy, which again is definitely impressive, but you can't because they were experimenting with
another dozen people or 70 odd people apparently who were killed on the
Yeah.
island in the time.
It's really disturbing. Like, you just find out the kids have to grow up in a day, and not only do they grieve the loss of their childhood, they also grieve the loss of getting the chance to grow up, and they grieve the loss of their parents who have just been ripped from them like that. So when they expose the plan and come back to the real world, they're children in adult bodies that aren't going to be around for much longer. Sure, they'll age a lot slower, but these are generally people who have been exploited because of their parents. And I think the most disturbing part to me is that they've lost their childhood. I did find the bit where the boy went all hormonal and kind of got to go.
I find it because Melody's starting to watch older films now, more older related movies and things. You're not watching, well, you are watching some kids films, but you are allowed to watch a few more adult films now.
Can't wait to show me this Shining.
I find psychological the concepts of these things more disturbing than anything.
I think that we'll get onto it later why I liked Candyman, and other people think, oh, it was a terribly massive reboot, but
well, should we talk about Candyman?
Oh yeah, so going on to that, Candyman was another psychological horror I really like, because I'm a woke writer myself, and I like, discussing the problems of society and how we treat marginalized folk. So I found Candyman really interesting, and I did see the first, but because the first was told through a white lens, I just didn't really buy it.
So you liked it?
I liked it, but it just felt too white savory, and it just didn't feel right being told by a white lens, through a white lens. So I was really excited looking back on it. It made me appreciate the sequel more, because it was produced by Jordan Peele and directed by the future director who's going to direct the Captain Marvel 2 sequel. And I thought they put together a really clever sequel to the first one. And it doesn't make sense unless you've seen the first one. But when you find out that twist that Anthony is the baby, from the first one, but it was kind of obvious. You're like,
you say that now.
Oh no!
I think it did a pretty good explanation without ramming down your throat what happened in the first one. I think that did that well.
It was, because I was a bit, it made sense when I saw the first one. But I think I just love, again, I don't condone showing, marginalized communities trauma on screen a lot. It's why I hate the Bury Your Gays trope. But I kind of do appreciate this one, how they've turned, especially after the disaster that has been all the BLM riots, well, they're not riots, but protests and all the stuff that's happened at the hands of the police, and it's still going on today. So I think that's why people might not like it, because it hits too close to home. I was just flashing back to 2020 with all the news about George Floyd, and I don't think Candyman's a hero, but I think it's a really clever story to try and show that Candyman is a hive of black men who have been exploited at the hands of police, or have been just exploited by the white people in society. And I just found it a really fascinating social justice metaphor. And do I agree some parts could have been written a bit better? Yes. Like, same thing with Old, but it had a good director and producer, so I think it was better than Old and a bit of more quality. And I was fascinated with it, especially with its grief messages and how this poor woman just loses her boyfriend and everything she knew thanks to this curse. So of course she's gonna, share the story at that dramatic cliffhanger in the end. So I just, it's really stuck with me, and
It's still on in the cinema, so
yeah.
heavy spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, please do. Yeah, a lot of these films are actually still on.
Yeah, because there's not many films coming out.
No, saying that, most of the films that I've seen this year, I've seen at least twice. Melody hasn't seen all of them, and he's maybe just seen them once, but I see them with different people, so I must
Yeah,
admit, I don't mind watching films more than once.
neither do I. But I can't explain it, but I'm not black, but I think Candyman can just apply not just to the black community, but
We still class
all,
ourselves as mixed race.
yeah, all marginalized communities, because it's just talking about, the, like, sort of how society works, and, the metaphorical, because it actually, he is the villain, but the people around him that create Candyman are also the villains. The cops, the white people who, oh my gosh, finding out about the original Candyman. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. So, and I'm not saying it because we'd probably get demonetized, so.
Anyway, we move on, saying that I want to talk about Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
However it's pronounced.
Shang-Chi, yeah. I really love Shang-Chi, and I'm just really nervous about Eternals because Eternals will might be
no, you keep saying that.
I'm sorry, I'm really anxious about it, but going on to Shang-Chi, apart from Black Widow, I also really loved Shang-Chi. Maybe parts of it are a bit annoying, for example, fridging the mother, spoilers, but I think it works as a concrete origin story. I just wish we got her mother was badass.
I want to talk about the mother a bit. Yeah, I want to talk about the mother. I mean, the point is with the grief thing. Should we just say it that the mother gets killed?
I know, and
the father is evil. Well, I would call him evil. He was bad. He got power and he didn't use it for good, shall we say? He used it for bad. He wanted to get more power for himself. But he meets, I'm not good at names. He meets a woman, fall in love. But the fall in love having a fight.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna interject.
And that's my favourite bit because
it is. It's Ninjago. Yes, that reminded me of Lego Ninjago with Masako.
I preferred
the weirdest thing to be reminded of.
I preferred it because it was a real people and you could see.
Yeah, but you could see how, and in my eye, so. Spoiler, I'm studying acting. I thought it was really good physical theatre.
Oh,
and I thought it was beautiful. Yeah, it was beautiful.
So yes, they fall in love, have a couple of kids, but she gets killed. Now the father, what's his name?
Wenwu.
Wenwu. Yes, so he was rescued, I suppose, by his wife because yes, he could have been evil, but of course he goes back to his old ways.
Once she's dead, because
I would class him as it's not as bad as Ego, it's not as bad as
Thanos.
but in the film yes, he was responsible for his wife's
He
death.
really was.
The people who killed her were after him. That he wasn't at home. She was there. So it was his fault, really. But he puts the blame on a 7-year-old son.
I know, like,
saying, why did you protect her and everything?
What was he supposed to do? There was like
12 men
12
there.
thugs, and it's just like, oh my gosh! And don't get me started with how he treats his daughter.
And then he trains his son
to be an assassin, and then with his daughter, he's misogynistic as hell and says, "You look like your mother. I don't think you can fight. I don't want you to fight." Maybe because of the painful reminder of, the mother, but I just thought that was so. The post-credit scene had me so happy. Everyone walked out for it, but I consider it worth it because it's just Zuza Ling. It's just her saying a big F you to her dad for being so misogynistic. And I really, sorry. I really don't like, I don't like him, but I don't think he's the worst father because he does show a bit of compassion. Like, he does kind of redeem himself in the end by poor Shang-Chi again having to watch his parents die in front of him. He sacrifices himself for Shang-Chi because the weird soul sucker thing just kills him and then gives the ring. So it's really like grief, and it's just so grief-based, and it's like, what's going on with Marvel? As I said, we will talk about this, but
we'll make another video about
this is something they really want to be talking about, and it was just executed so well. I thought the acting was amazing. I thought the director directed it really well.
So that's the bad side of grief. Shall we talk about Respect, which is a story for Aretha Franklin?
Yeah.
I think she's fantastic. Now then, this is the good side, as well as we can focus on negative sides. Now this woman has always amazed me. I've noticed about some of the stories about how she became a mother really young. But I didn't know actually that just before her 10th birthday, her mother died, and for a while she didn't talk. And her father, probably sit with the parents again. Her father was saying, what's up with you? Your other siblings, they're okay, they're all right. So what's wrong with you? The poor girl had lost her mother. She was distraught. She stopped talking for a while. Now, in a way, they sort of like made her talk by saying, "Come on, son, you can singing in the church," and she loved to sing. But she used her grief, and she became strong. She had lots and lots of bad things happen in her life, but she was a strong woman. So grief made her stronger, and she wanted to make her mom proud. And I just find that amazing. So. I really like Respect again. Some people complained it was too long. It wasn't perfect. There was so much happening in her life. You just had to skim over a lot of things because it was just too much. It could have been a lot longer, but they couldn't make it too long.
I know my favourite bit was highlighting how she stood up to her husband, because if anyone's seen the soaps, there was this storyline with a woman called Chantal, and she had a really abusive husband, and her husband murdered her, and so far Graham's murdered several people, and he hasn't gotten away with it. So Chantal hasn't got justice, but Aretha got justice for herself. Man, he was like, how dare they report that I'm abusing you and being so cruel to you, and it montaged back to show that no, he was controlling her life like her dad did. I do not know how she dealt with men in her life after that, because
She looked at
most of them were just, really
She's using
abusive to her.
using her.
So I really admire her for that. And it was just such a powerful scene where she said, "This is not rumors. You hit me in that elevator. You gave me a black eye. I know that." And first time she gave him a second chance, but now she was done with it and said, "Bye bye. I don't care if I get more depressed. I cannot have an abuser like you in my life." And I just really like that because it
She
shows
battled the demons. She battled her
Karen
alcoholism.
Wood.
I just think it's a really well acted film. Not just from Jennifer Hudson, but from everybody. Forrest Whitaker who played her dad. Everybody was in it was amazing. So this is how I respect Aretha Franklin, because she was such a powerful woman, and she didn't let it beat her, and she used her grief for positive things. So wow, yeah. Now then,
Speaking. I've never bawled my eyes out so much. Oh, No Time to Die. It was my first cinematic James Bond film, and I lost it by the end. I was just in absolute tears, and it was a really well written film. The villain, although he had good, I just wish we had a bit more of the villain because he felt a bit stale. I'm going to use the word.
yeah. Again, the villain became a villain because his family got killed.
Yeah, which I find is ironic. And then he turned into the one thing that killed his family. He started killing other, trying to get revenge, and he manipulates James Bond's partner, who it was revealed when she was younger. He came to the house. She shot half of his mask and tried to avoid him. While he killed her alcoholic mother, who was, very, because she was a bit depressed at her husband and what he did.
The one thing I think I like about Daniel Craig's era, I've watched all my life. I've either watched James Bond on the TV, cinema, DVD. So this has been happening. Well, his first film came out before I was born. So I've known James Bond all my life, and of course he's been played by many actors. I've liked them because of the music, the humour, the action, the cars. But one thing I didn't like about James Bond is how he treated women. I didn't think he was a good role model about how he treated women. So this Daniel Craig era has changed all that.
He's not a very good role model either, because he blew and left her on a train. Well, she was pregnant.
But he didn't know she was pregnant, and he did think that she betrayed him.
Yeah, but true. Still an awful thing to do.
I still think Daniel Craig's done a marvellous job.
He really has, because I've only seen him in a few films, Knives Out and this one, and he was just really well acted here, and he had like character, because for example...
Talking about Knives Out, the person who co-starred with him, Anna something, who was in Knives Out, is also in this film, and she's really good in it, but she does a really action film, action shots, but unfortunately she was denying it a lot, but it did make me want to watch Knives Out again, but yeah.
Who was she? 007 or?
No, she was the one who helped him, who he was really friendly with. Can't remember her name. Yeah. But I'll tell you later.
Yeah,
I'll show you a picture of her. The picture.
Yeah. I very much loved the film. I thought it was probably the best one. I haven't seen a lot of Bond films. I saw Skyfall, and then that's it. So.
And also we learned more about James Bond. Apparently he was born in Scotland. He had a Scottish estate, and so we learned all sorts about James Bond with Daniel Craig. It made him more human.
He really felt like less of the charmer, but he felt more human. And I heard someone was commenting, "Oh, I don't really like him. He's not really cute." And I thought, it's not about looks; it's about his character in my eye. And I thought Daniel Craig was really good characterized. Like you can feel his conflict when he's interacting with, his partner who kind of jumped on the train. But I laughed at that scene. She's not yours. bright blue baby eyes staring right in
Heavy
front of it.
spoilers. It's the first time I remember seeing a Bond film where there is a child.
And the child actor was good as well. Oh my goodness, she's as cute as Lexi Rabe, who played Morgan Stark.
The thing is with this though, lots of things happen. There's another 007.
She was really good.
Controversially, yes, I think they should leave James Bond to die and not resurrect him. I don't want a reboot for a long while. I want the 007 that's in this film to be played by a young woman called Lashana Lynch. I'm quite happy for the 007 thing to carry on with her for a while. Still have Moneypenny, still have Q and M. I'm quite happy for Lashana Lynch to carry on for a while. But apparently it says at the end James Bond will return, which I didn't quite understand.
That, I think that might lose the impact for me on the next trilogy because his death was really impactful. It felt like we were losing an incarnation of the Doctor. Because, he just, went out in a Doctor Who-ish way. Mum doesn't understand that, but I really felt like it was a good
Doctor Who because it's a franchise that's been going on for 60 years and nearly 60 years, and there's several different actors playing him, so it's kind of like.
But the thing is, if we do a James Bond reboot, I want either he is a bit too old for it now, sadly. I either want a trilogy with Idris Elba, or I want his daughter just flash forward to the future, do a Blade Runner or something, and have Matilda Bond. So she's like a 007 in the future, and she's just taken on her dad's mantle after hearing about his stories, and that's a trilogy spanning across.
So we'll have to wait, won't we?
I'm so nervous.
I'm gonna mourn the loss of Daniel Craig and the loss of James Bond, so I don't understand why he's gonna come back, and I'm quite happy. Lashana Lynch did a brilliant job.
She really did. I thought she was good as well, and I thought it was good representation, but as someone commented, it would have been nice to see a lot more of her and them actually partnering up, which I thought would have been a lot better.
Anyway, I think we've gone on long enough now. We haven't been able to talk about every film that we've seen this year.
Yeah.
But I think if you see the list that I'm writing what I'm saying, they all do with the reason, they all do with it. Every film has got it in.
Hope you've enjoyed the video, and my best advice is just to split this into segments because
we're going too long.
Yeah, and Mum prefers unscripted, and you go on too long when you're unscripted, so that's what happens. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will leave to a nice ending montage for you all. Goodbye!